what I'm very interested in helping businesses do is construct brilliant teams, because in our view, my view, the only asset in your business that makes money are the people. Products and services are actually irrelevant. And you could, Dave, give me any search term you like, and I could plug it into Google right now, and I would come up with 25 million competitors. So what's the differentiator? It must be the people. So the book that I wrote was all about extracting a framework from elite sports coaches and how they build teams and put it into a business context. And so what we do in our coaching and our workshops now is teach business owners a strategy for building teams as if they were the head coach of a sports team, or they were a theatre director or the conductor of an orchestra. Because it's all about the experience they give the customers that is important. And you do that through having a great team. Now, we all know there are lots of companies out there that have average products, but their customer service is brilliant. So they get very loyal customers. And we also know companies out there with brilliant products and services that struggle because their customer service is really poor. So the only differentiator must be the people.
Welcome, everyone, to Living the Next Chapter. I have someone from across the pond joining me today, and it is great. We both have a mutual love for ABBA and for lemons. So this is kind of great. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Stuart is with me today. Welcome, Stuart, to the podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for having me as a guest on your program.
It's great. It's so great to have you here. We have, again, like I mentioned, a mutual love for ABBA, and you're talking about a show you're going to be going to soon. Can you share a little bit about this amazing show that's coming?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see a show called ABBA Voyage. And the beauty of it is that the performance is done by holograms. And I'm fascinated to see the technology. Mm-hmm. Clearly, because all the music is recorded, it's going to be perfect. Everybody in the audience is going to know the songs by osmosis. We can all dress up in our 1970s glittery ABBA gear and just have a great night out. And the technology will be great to see the original four members on the stage. It'd be great to see how they move, whether you get a sense that it's technology or they're really there. But, it could be the way of the future.
It sounds amazing. I really would love to capture that. That would be a great night. That sounds great. The other thing we mentioned just as we opened was our mutual love of lemons. Yes. And people are like, why would you love lemons? I don't understand the reference there, Dave. But we talked earlier in a little pre-chat that you're going to be going to a play, a show, and it's all about, the topic is lemons, but something very unique about this play that actually sparked me to come back from that and do some thought around the concept of the play. And you inspired me by the conversation. So thank you for that. Oh, wow. Can you share a little bit about the play?
Yeah. So we all love lemons, especially in our gin and tonics, obviously. It's always a great accompaniment, but the premise behind the play is quite fascinating. You get a total of 140 words a day to speak each. So based on that, you have to choose your words very wisely. Don't argue because you waste a lot of words. Don't go down rabbit holes in conversations because you literally run out of words at the end of the day. And I thought it was a fascinating concept because you really then have to be very precise about your communication skills. And I guess it's taken from the Twitter 140 characters. And at the end of the day, if you've got some words left over, you're not allowed to gift them to anybody else. You kind of lose them. Hence, I think the reason why at the end of the day, if I've got 5 words left over, I'm going to use them. And the word that came out of the writer's mouth was lemons. So it's lemons, 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 lemons to use up my allocation for the day.
I love it.
And that'd be fascinating to see as well, as a new construct.
Imagine that, like, how more purpose-driven would our conversations be? I was using in the thought of around a podcast, and if your podcast only had so many words that you could say, could you do it? Right. And then I love the idea of having these extra words and not know what to do with them. How would you talk with your partner? How would you talk with your children? How would you be online, talking with people online with your words? Think of where our words go, and that's great.
I said to my partner that would work well for me because she would use all of her words up before she got out of bed in the morning.
Warning, warning, we've gotten into danger zones with Stuart. This is great. No, I love it, Stuart. That's great. I love it. So it sounds like a great play. I am living vicariously through you. I would love to see this.
Send you the update once we've seen it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing. That's the beauty of reaching out and talking to people around the world is you get to learn something new every day. I already feel like I've learned many things from you, Stuart, so thank you for this. You are an author, and yet you are also very active in the business world. And I really appreciate your wisdom and knowledge and what you bring to your writings. Can you kind of give us a sense of what you're doing there in the UK and a little background to you and your journey?
Yeah, I mean, writing is difficult. I think it's fair to say. We've kind of got out of the habit of writing. We're all very much keyboard driven and shorthand driven. So writing long form is actually quite hard to do. I'm certainly guilty of it. And, if I have to write something out with a pen, I actually find it quite difficult now because I don't do a lot of it. But when I was originally thinking about writing my first book, it was quite a daunting task. And I think it's for most first-time authors, really, because you've got so much knowledge wrapped up in your head about what you want to say and how you want to say it. Actually getting it down on paper or on a screen is really, really difficult to do. And certainly for myself, I tended to believe that everything I wrote was perfect, absolutely perfect, because you kind of feel that way about it. And it wasn't until I sent it off to the editor, and it came back as a sea of red, that I realized that perhaps my thought processes were not as simple to understand as I had imagined them to be.
Wow.
And it is an emotional journey, but it's well worth it at the end of the day. I mean, I believe we all have a book in us in some shape or form, but it's actually marshalling those thoughts into a coherent fashion. And that is something that I found I couldn't do. I could write chapters, but I couldn't put them in any specific order. I couldn't edit them properly because I'm too close to it. And I think you have to step away from it to get the best value. And if you find yourself a great editor, they will improve and enhance your thoughts immeasurably. And you end up with something that's far better. I ended up with something far better than I could ever have imagined through that process.
So in a similar way that we talk about the Lemon play as a way to rethink how we do our day-to-day, even though there is no real limit to the words we have, but it makes us think about the words we use in everyday life just by watching and participating in that play. Writing a book has implications for your daily life outside of writing. What have you learned about yourself then, being edited, having those words come back to you and having you to fix them? What have you learned about yourself from writing world that you apply to your day-to-day now?
I've learned that I'm a very sensitive soul. Nobody likes to be picked up on mistakes or anything else. but you have to go with independent, third-party, objective, constructive criticism of what you're doing. And I think that for most experts in their field, they tend to assume that whoever they're talking to has had the same level of experience as they do.
Mm.
And what we tend to do is talk at a much higher level than most people can comprehend. It's not their ability to comprehend, it's just they haven't been on the journey. And being dragged back to square one, rather than expecting everyone to be on square 57, is where you need to be. Mm-hmm. Because you have gone from square one to square 57. Nobody else has. Go back to square one, and that's what a good editor will make you do. And I was having discussions with them saying, why are you asking me that? And they would say, well, we don't understand how you arrived at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So can you please take us on the journey? And it's a question of going, actually, you're right.
Mm.
Let's go back to basics and let's move forward from there. And now when I try and use the book and what I know in coaching or consulting or workshops, it's always great to start from the beginning. That way you take people along that journey.
So let's talk a little bit about your coaching and your workshops. Can you let people know what you're doing, what you're actively putting out into the world? I'm really interested in that as well.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm very interested in helping businesses do is construct brilliant teams, because in our view, my view, the only asset in your business that makes money are the people. Mm-hmm. Products and services are actually irrelevant. And you could, Dave, give me any search term you like, and I could plug it into Google right now, and I would come up with 25 million competitors. So what's the differentiator? It must be the people. Mm. So the book that I wrote was all about extracting a framework from elite sports coaches and how they build teams and put it into a business context. And so what we do in our coaching and our workshops now is teach business owners a strategy for building teams as if they were the head coach of a sports team, or they were a theatre director or the conductor of an orchestra, because it's all about the experience they give the customers that is important. And you do that through having a great team. Now, we all know there are lots of companies out there that have average products, but their customer service is brilliant. Mm-hmm. So they get very loyal customers. And we also know companies out there with brilliant products and services that struggle because their customer service is really poor.
Okay.
So the only differentiator must be the people. So as a business owner, we teach them what's the strategy for getting a great team. How do you build a great team? And it's a really engaging process because people are hard, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah.
A brilliant employee today can be the worst employee on the planet tomorrow. And it has nothing to do with the business.
Mm.
It's something that's affected them outside. But if you're not in tune with them and have a great relationship with them rather than a transactional one, you don't know how to deal with that situation. You don't have the wherewithal to approach them and say, hey, what's wrong? Can I help? Do you need time off? Because your relationship is transactional. You give me your time, I give you money.
Mm.
Is the transactional way most people work. Whereas we know in elite sports or performance, that isn't the transaction. The transaction is all about the end user customer. And
correct.
And they know each other much better, and they can coach each other to do that. So that's what we help people do. And that's what the book lays out in a framework for businesses to understand. How do you build this team? Because if I said to most top sports coaches, who do you want in your team next year? They could tell me. And they could tell me why. Because they're trying to get better. They're trying to get a better team ethic going. If I ask most businesses, the chances are they don't know. And that's the problem. They don't know who they need to have a better business.
So tell me a little bit about the research behind the book, as far as using sports as a platform to kind of help share the message of the book. How did you kind of generate the background for this?
So I was very fortunate. Because I had various contacts. They put me in touch with a load of elite sports coaches, and I approached them. I said, "Hey, look, I'm thinking about writing a book. I'd like to get your thoughts on how do you build the teams that you have built that have been very successful." And it came down to some very simple things. Things like, if you didn't have the required skills, you wouldn't be in my roster. So from a business perspective, if you don't have the right skills, we wouldn't employ you. So let's have that as a given. We don't have to worry about that. So my job is really to make you a better contributor. And it's not through checking your resume. It's about the relationship that I have with you and you have with the team. And it's that relationship that came out time and time again. Now, clearly everyone likes to be developed and have training and everything. That's fantastic, because that's what you want to do for people anyway. But it's this underlying trust that if you weren't good enough, you wouldn't be here, is the important one. And I think a lot of employees always feel a bit exposed that they're not good enough to be in the company of everybody else. So they try and cover up. And I think we need to get away from that and say, if you weren't good enough, you wouldn't be here. Now let's move forward. How do we make this thing work? So when a new team member comes in, everybody's on the same page. Because we know, whether it's in soccer or the NFL draft, when the number one draft comes into the team, everyone rubs their hands together. And they say, brilliant, we're glad you've turned up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we try and teach businesses need to be looking at, not suspicion and, oh, they're better than me, I'm not going to be allowed to stay in this job anymore. So we deal with all of that.
So what about the whole notion and thought around the fact that you don't hire perfect employees, or every new employee that comes into the business is not perfect, but from a sports perspective, we want them to be coachable, right? You're still going to go out on the field and do practice. You're still going to run. You're still going to do all the sprints. You're going to practice kicking. Even if you're a professional and you the highest rated in your field, doesn't mean that you don't do all the sports, all the work behind the scenes before game day.
Right.
So we're looking for coachable employees that are going to come into our business, fit into the team, be an active member of the team, but also be coachable. So can you talk a little bit about that coachable side? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, clearly there is a requirement to have a certain level of technical proficiency in any job. Okay. And we coach and teach our clients that the most important thing once you get past this base level is attitude. You can have the most highly qualified person on the planet, and they will have a lousy attitude.
Yeah.
And they will never ever fit into your business. You could have someone who's averagely proficient at what they do, but has a great attitude, and they will want to get better and will want to contribute. And those are the coachable people that you're looking for, because they will always be banging on your door saying, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that. How can you help me? I found this training course, and if I do this training course, I can do this for the business, and I can contribute all of this. Those are the people that you want, because they are the ones who are going to fit the culture of what you're trying to build. You won't be battling with them, and everybody will benefit from it.
What I love, too, is we talked about your book, and when you wrote the book, you released it in 2 different versions as well, which I found to be an interesting way to do this. So can you explain that as well? I thought that was unique.
Yes. So, being based in the UK, and for the vast majority of my life, UK, Europe, Asia. The first book I wrote was based on soccer, as you guys would call it. And it was very dear to my heart. It's a game I played forever. It's a game I follow avidly now. So the whole terminology and what it was all about came very naturally. But as we started to get drawn across your side of the pond, a lot of the people that we engaged with didn't understand soccer in as much depth. But as soon as we started to couch it in American football and NFL terms, they got it a lot quicker.
Okay.
So we had to go back and have a complete rewrite of the book, introducing it from an American football NFL scenario, so that our friends and clients on your side of the pond could take in the information a lot easier. And we actually managed to add 1 or 2 new chapters to the book, which was great because our thinking had progressed there. And there's a great new chapter just in the American football version of the book around coaching teams, where we take the coaching roster for the Patriots under Belichick, and you've got the defensive line coordinator and the defensive coach and the offensive coaches. There's a complete list of coaches, and next to it we created a list of corporate positions, and we get people to fill in and map across who fits where, because the chances are most businesses don't have any coaches, right? You could say, the head defensive coach could be the CFO, because they're looking after the money. The offense could be the VP of sales, but actually mapping it across and seeing how many people you're missing is quite interesting.
That's an interesting visual. You try to picture that. You can see you can see the title and a blank space where there's no name, and go, uh-oh, here's some gaps in our lineup.
Correct.
I like that.
It was just a way of trying to get people to visualize where they may be weak from a coaching perspective. Who is the person that's coaching the CFO even? Everyone needs coaching. Who's coaching the CEO? It's interesting, and in some of our work where we have reorganized teams, some teams have downsized because you end up with lots of people doubling up, and you turn around and say to the business owner, okay, your company has gone from 50 employees to 45 employees because we've reorganized stuff. How many coaches are you now going to employ to ensure the 45 that are left perform more efficiently and better? And we get a blank look back and say, why would we need to coach people? Well, because everybody needs help.
And putting people in the wrong position that does not suit their, like if you take in the American football, you take the quarterback and make him the kicker, that makes no sense at all. Because he throws, he doesn't kick.
Correct.
And vice versa, right? So you might be putting somebody in the wrong position where they would excel if they were put in the right position. So knowing your team, right? You need to know your team.
Correct. And asking them to draw a team formation for a project or a business is really interesting. That's where you see where they've all doubled up. Because you may have 4 quarterbacks on your team and no tight end. You go, hang on a minute, you wouldn't go on the field like that. You just wouldn't do it.
No.
And it becomes very obvious when you start to map it out in these fashion.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in my business background, I've seen some people who have been promoted past their capabilities. And they're put into positions of leadership and they have no people skill. But they've been here forever. So, Stuart, we got to promote them. We got to push them up the ladder. But sometimes that's not a good choice, right?
But sometimes they don't want to do it.
And it shows.
And I think that there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment around a term called imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you've come across that.
Oh, yeah.
These are the people who have been promoted beyond where they should be, and they feel really, really uncomfortable because they feel like imposters.
And the confidence goes out the window then, to be effective. Correct. And take leadership and take us to where we need to go. They don't know where to go.
Correct.
So.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
Interesting. No, it's not. No, yeah, you're right. Or they bring in people from outside the company to make the company better. And those people, sometimes those people are the companies they came from. They're happy they're leaving. So, and you bring them in and you think it's going to make a difference. But people are people, no matter what the outside name on the building says. The people in there, they're still the same people, no matter what. So.
It is a global problem. Every company on the planet has a people problem. And I think we discussed before, I had an interesting conversation with a company based in Asia. And their opening gambit was, we don't have a people problem. And I went, wow, that's fantastic. You got 40,000 employees and you don't have a people problem. I know companies of 2 and they have a people problem. What's your secret? And the secret was they buried their head in the sand because they had an attrition rate of 30% annually. They replaced 12,000 people every year, but they don't have a people problem.
Wow.
Like, wow, you're crazy. How much money is that costing you?
Yeah. Just in training and everything, right? That's amazing. So take us, Stuart, to your workshops and stuff. You come into a company, they bring you in. Why is the company reaching out to you? And when you come into the building to help, what are some of the key tools that you offer to a company? I know it varies, but in general terms, what do you bring to a company through your workshops?
So essentially, a company will reach out to us because they're struggling to grow.
Okay.
And the reason they're struggling to grow is because they don't have the right people. It's not a question, it's very rarely a question of they've got the wrong product or the wrong service. They don't have the right people to grow and they don't know how to grow. And so they'll reach out and say, look, there's a war for talent out there. We haven't got the right talent. We can't find the right talent. And it always comes down to they don't know who they're looking for. They have a vague idea that they may need a new VP of sales or a new VP of marketing or a new production director. They have a vague idea, but they have no strategy for how they're going to attract the right person. And what we do is we give them 18-month, 2-year strategy on who they should be hiring and when, if they're going to grow. And we do that in a number of different ways. We built something all the clients love. We built a board game to help them with this strategy, where we can model the project or the scenario they're trying to solve, and with the board game, build the team throughout the gameplay. So they will know in 3 months' time they need this person. This is the role that we've identified. This is the company we think they're probably currently working in. This is how much we think we're going to have to pay them. This is how we're going to pitch the opportunity to them. And this is how we're going to get our recruitment company to go and poach them. We give them all of that strategy. So they have that very clear. And the fact that they can identify individuals and competitors that they think would be the right fit is of enormous value. It then gives them the opportunity to go to the recruitment company and say, we want Dave. This is where he is. This is how much he's being paid. We've bumped into him several times at networking events and county fairs and whatever, and he knows us. We think we want him. Go and get him for us. It's a bit like trading in American football, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's something you need to be doing all the time. And having a strategy in place that says if you want to go from point A to point B, at point B your team is not the same as at point A, but we know what point the team at point B looks like, let's go get them. And it's that strategy that they employ us to help them with. We don't do the recruitment, we don't do all the interviewing, we just give them the strategy and the vision for who they want. Because if your business is going to double in the next 2 years, the people who are with you now won't be the people who you end up with. And you need to recognize that. It's really important. Because some people say, I love to work in a mom and pop shop. I like to work in companies of 20 people where I know everybody. I know who they are. I went to school with some of them. I know their husbands. All our kids go together. And that's fantastic. But when you grow, your business changes. And when it becomes a semi-corporate, these people don't like it. And that's fine because they like to work in a mom and pop shop. They will leave. And you need to know who they are and say, right, I think in 6 months' time this person will leave because we're going to be at this stage, and be ready for it. You don't want to be in the situation where Andy comes and knocks on the door on Friday and says, hey, boss, I'm off.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same company anymore. I don't know the people. You have to be ready for that and have a replacement ready to step in. Because when Andy walks on Friday, you have a 3 to 6 month problem filling that role.
Exactly.
So we kind of build all those in.
I love the idea that you're walking in with a board game. Like, that's got to be unique just as a typical business meeting where we have our snacks or coffee and tea and set out. And then here comes Stuart with a board game. What's going on? Like, what is this? Is that kind of the response?
It is. It's very interesting. When I go and meet companies for the first time, exactly, the coffees and the pastries are all on the table, and they say, where would you like to plug your laptop in? And I say, why would I want to do that? Oh, we thought you were going to give us a presentation. No, we're going to have a conversation. I'm not going to bore you with PowerPoint. We're going to have a conversation. And naturally it turns to, one of the things we use is a board game. Would you like to play it? At that point, all the coffee and all the pastries disappear, and we play the game for 10 minutes.
I love it.
And it's just a great way to introduce it. This is how it works. And as part of the process, whoever the decision maker is, one of the things that we do is we take them to a game or to a play or to a concert before we sign contracts. I want to see them get involved in their passion, because naturally, if you take them to a game, they'll be sitting there watching the game, and immediately they become the head coach of their team. That player's wrong. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? I would have played someone else. I would have done something. Great. Wow. That's fantastic. In that project, how does that play out? And then you have a really interesting conversation. And it's just a way of getting to know people a lot easily and deeper. That helps us with the ongoing relationships. Because once you've built that personal relationship, the clients, I can call them up any time and say, hey, did you see the game on Sunday? And what do you think about that play? And that's the end of the conversation. I'm not trying to sell them anything, but we have a mutual enthusiasm for something that we can have a conversation like any other person, but it reinforces the message.
Taking them out of the boardroom into real life and exposing them to letting them see. Yeah, that's a great way to get the message to stick. I think that's unique.
I think what we do is unique. There's a lot of coaches and companies out there that say they do team building, but they also do executive coaching and leadership coaching and sales training and product training and everything else. We only do this, which makes us very unique. If somebody says, look, I need some executive coaching, I've got associates in other companies that will do it. I don't do that. We do what we do. And because of that, we are very unique in that way. And the way in which we engage with customers through taking them to games, through the board games, through a whole bunch of things is unique.
So for anyone that purchases the book, Stuart, what is your hope for them as they go through the pages? When they put the book down, they're done. Is there a goal? Is there a finish line for you that you wish they would cross?
Yeah, I think that the way in which the book is designed is in bite-sized chunks. I'm sure you've had a look at the way it was all put together. There's a front and a back, and there's some questions about what you should have learned in each chapter. What we hope at the end of the book is for people to go, actually, I need to spend time thinking very hard about my team formation. I need to think about who's going to come with me on the journey and who's not, and what's my strategy to get to the end goal. Mm. If we achieve that and they make it center of their attention, that's what I'm after, because it's only about the people.
Good. Yeah. I love it. So, Stuart, you've been so gracious with your time. How do we connect with you? I'm anticipating people in business are thinking, I think we need to talk to Stuart. I think we need to see this board game in person. I would love to interact with you. Where are you most active, Stuart, that people can connect with you? And how do they do that?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn. They can look me out on LinkedIn, just with my name as it's shown on the screen there. Yeah. I will pop up. They can come to our website, which is onlydo.online, and I'm contactable through there. Or if they just want to reach out via email, it's Stuart, as on the screen, at onlydo.online.
Beautiful. So, Stuart, this is the time I like to ask one question I do ask sometimes, and I would love your view on this. I would love to hear your message to businesses today on what you're seeing and how we can adapt and grow our business. Based on our conversation already, how would you like to end this off? What kind of words of wisdom can we give to a business leader today listening to this, looking for answers? What would you say to them?
The one thing that we always come back to is the only thing that makes money in your business are your people. Mm. If you're not concentrating on the well-being of your people and the quality of your people, your business will struggle.
Perfectly said. I love it. Thank you so much, Stuart, for your time today. It's great to have you here.
Thanks very much.
And in a song title from ABBA, take a chance on me. Hey, let's take a chance on our employees, right? Let's take a chance on them. Yep. And even though it's SOS, the winner does take it all, right? And we all can be the dancing queens of our business by getting in touch with Stuart, getting the book, and let's turn those lemons into lemonade. I love this. It's great having you on here, Stuart. Thank you.
Perfect, Dave. Thanks very much for having me on.
Excellent. Jumping here at the very end, I want to thank you for coming. We have listeners around the world, and I got to tell you, as a podcaster, it is so great to hear back from the people who listen to the show. Now, you are still here. The podcast's over. Like, we're sweeping up and putting the chairs away. You're still here. So, hi. I would love to talk to you. No, I really, really would. I would love to hear your voice. I would love to hear from you through email. You can do all that at livingthenextchapter.com. I say it fast because I love it. Living the Next Chapter. It's the name of the podcast. .com. How's that for easy? Right? Right. So come on over there and let's have a conversation. You can set up time in my calendar. You can, air quote here, book time in my calendar, book next chapter. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for being here. See you on the next one. Cheers.